I want to talk about the job that I have that I got about a few months ago. Now, I'm not going to tell you specifically what I'm doing, but I will say, because you remember my first job was a part-time job at a cleaning company. And so I will say that this job is very much cleaning adjacent. I'll put it like that. Like it's in the same industry of cleaning. Um, just a bit different. But and I do a variety of things, right? But there is a certain like specific. There's definitely a specific purpose to what we do. I'll put it like that. Now, as far as me getting the job, my mom, she was talking to somebody, and they had informed her that they were looking for some help. And so she basically ran that by me and told me about it. And I was like, okay, sounds fine. I'll give it a shot. And so I had went to a place to talk to somebody that worked there, and he gave me a basic rundown of what I could expect and whatnot. So he set me up a date for a job interview with the supervisor of one of the places I'll be working at. So one thing that I remembered, like one thing that I kind of had, because as far as like my mindset, and I would not advise this for anyone, but I remember that when I was trying to get the job at Planet Fitness, I was so concerned about, looking right, having a nice button-up shirt and pants and a dress code, and making sure my hair was neat. Like I went through so much trouble in preparation for it, and then got nothing out of it, got jerked around. So for this job interview, I was like, fuck it. I went there with a baseball hat, some shorts. Right, I was just kind of like, fuck it, man. And just being real. But I ended up getting the job anyway. Interesting. One thing I kind of realized is that to a certain extent, getting a job is almost like getting a girl. You can try to fit in with a particular environment, or you can try to find a place that works for you and who you are. And I went in there just, again, shorts, baseball cap, shirt, and was just my regular self, right? And ended up getting the job. And it just goes to show you ain't got to be all uptight and buttoned up with a tie and shit to go get a job. A lot of it just has to do with where you're going to try to get a job. So I got the job same day, but I didn't start till the next week. So I remember I enjoyed my last weekend of freedom. I remember because me and Kayla was hanging out. We were hanging out that weekend. And that was like, man, I can't lie. I was a little nervous because one thing I realized was that this would be my first time having a full-time job. Now, the good thing about this job is that I have weekends off. But Monday through Friday is still pretty much full-time, And the hours work, again, full-time. Compared to the part-time job I had at the cleaning company, because that was Monday through Friday, but I only worked about 3 hours a day, right? Versus this place, which can be flexible, but it's typically more than 3 hours a day. So I was a little intimidated by that, because I was like, yo, like this is going to be like the real deal. This ain't for play. And so going into this, like I said, my main concern was time management and energy after work. Because, there are a lot of people who they have the kind of job where when they get off, they feel drained. Like, I can't do it. I can't walk. I can't run. I can't pick this up. I can't talk. I can't look. I got to sit down. And I was pleasantly surprised to realize that my energy levels were not very plummeted or diminished after work. In fact, I kind of changed up my schedule a bit since then, but because it got cold. But like I would get off work some days, put on my workout clothes and go running, right? Immediately after, go running a few miles and work out, come home, clean up, right? So that was the first thing that I realized was like, okay, so the job isn't like exhausting, right? So I can work these hours, I can work these days, and when I get home, most days I have enough energy to do what I want to do. It's more so like the biggest challenge is time management. The energy is there, but it's the time. Cause the thing about working is that you don't want to go to work tired. I tried that. I tried that one time. I remember I went to work exhausted one day, and it was a miserable experience because it was like I'm here now. I can't go nowhere. Right. I got no excuse. I can't. Right. Like I'm here and I got to do it. And I was like a zombie in there, like just straight up zombie mode. I don't know how I made it through, but I hit my second win about 4 hours in and caught my footing energy wise. But after that, I was like, like you got to make sure you get proper rest. Like I say in general, I need about 5 to 6 hours of sleep so that I won't be miserable at work. So you got to factor in the time you got to work, the time you got to sleep, and then everything else is yours to do with as you please. But of course, this job that I have, I'm not passionate about this shit. I'm passionate about doing stuff like this, the podcast, the music and whatnot. So carving out time throughout the day to do those things while working out and dealing with family, cleaning up, that's the challenge, And I think my whole time as a NEET, that was my biggest concern about getting like a full-time job was how I was going to manage my time. And, when I look at how I've been able to deal with it thus far, because I think I've done so much better than what I thought. I have to attribute it to all the work I put in while I was a NEET in terms of like self-improvement. I've really strengthened myself a lot, not just physically, but mentally to push myself the way that I have to still, to work and to still do the things that I want to do, the things that I'm really passionate about with the time that I have left throughout the week. And again, I don't have to work on the weekend. That is like, that's the real blessing right there. So, that is, but I've been able to do that very well thus far. Still room for improvement. Like I think time management in general is an issue for me, but I can see now that I have enough time. It's just about managing it. I have the time, I have the energy. I just have to manage it better. That's the challenge. That's what it's all about. And I'm still working on that, but so far I've been doing better than what I thought. But I feel like it's the conundrum of the artist. I think we all have that. Whether you're a musician, a streamer, vlogger, a bodybuilder, whatever the case may be, I think we all have like that fear of like working, not because of the work itself, but how it gets in the way of what we're passionate about. And I'm very glad to say that my job has not gotten in the way to the point where I can't get done what I want to get done. Certainly I don't have the time like I used to, but I feel like at the same time it balances out because of the advantages and the benefits of having money to do more. I mean, even when you look at like what you can see now in my room, those nice lights in the back, right? I had to buy that. The new poster, making the room look a little, that Death Note poster. I plan on getting some more posters for the room. I got some right there on the side that you can't really see. I got lighting right here. Little things like that and other things that I'm working on as well. I bought a new camera, so clothes, shit. It's and just it's a balance thing, right? You lose time, but you gain money to invest into what you're doing. So it's really balanced out perfectly in terms of like my work life balance. And like I feel so fortunate because I see so many people that hate their job, right? Like they feel like a wage slave. And maybe technically I'm a wage slave too. But I'm glad to say that I like my job. To be able to say I like my job. Whew, oh man. Not that it's something that I'm passionate about, but you got to be realistic when it comes to wage slavery. Like you got to be realistic. And the reason why I like my job is a few reasons. Okay. So, one, I got the weekends off. So I work Monday through Friday, but Saturday and Sunday I'm off. Now, we can work on Saturday if we want to make more hours, but it's not an obligation. It's there for people to pick up those extra hours. That's the thing with that. Really, for me, it feels like school, but getting paid, right? You know how you go to school and then you get out of school and then you got the day to yourself to do what you want, and then you go to sleep and then you do the same thing, and it's kind of like that. So really, having this job has just felt like going back to school, but instead of doing nothing, I'm working, and instead of not getting paid for it, I'm getting paid for it. I didn't do shit in school for the most part. Let me just be honest about that. But the other thing too is that the hours are kind of unpredictable. And this is good and bad. So when I say unpredictable, I know when I'm going in, right? I go in at the same time every day. So that's the predictable part of it. But I don't know when I'm leaving. And so, you know how most full-time jobs, you're supposed to work like 8 hours? Well, at where I work, how much you work depends on your job description. So there are a few people there, they get the 8 hours in damn near every day because of what they do. Because of what I do, my work and the amount of time I spend there is based on the workload available to me and how fast I can get it done. So the good thing about that is that it makes the hours or the amount of time I'm there pretty flexible. And sometimes it works in my favor, sometimes it doesn't. So I would say on average, I probably work about 6 hours a day throughout the week, which really ain't that bad. It ain't the full like 8 hours a lot of times. When I first got there, it was like the full 8 hours damn near every day. But 7-8 hour days on average. Now it's like 5-6 days. Like some days even like 5. I say roughly like 6 though. Like 6 hours a day on average. And obviously the benefit of that is that if I go to work and I'm only there for like 5 or 6 hours, then I got more time throughout the day to do what I want to do. The downside is that hurts your bottom line as far as making money. So, because the less time you work, the less you get paid. So really, I don't stress about it because I feel like I win either way. If we work more throughout the week, I get paid more. If we have those early days more because of a lighter workload and we're working faster and more efficiently, then I have more time to do what I want to do. So I don't stress about it, but that's part of why I like the job so much though, is because of that balance between like every day isn't just an 8-hour grind, right? Some days I'm in there for like 5 hours to 6 hours. And then some days I'm in there 7 to 8 hours. And if I'm in there 7 to 8 hours, then I just tell myself I'm making more money. The check will look better at the end of the week, right? Overall, though, I'll say that I like the job. I feel like this will sound weird to some people, but I think that the time that I spent as a NEET prepared me for work life. And I would say that's because I didn't just waste my time when I was needing. I was so involved in self improvement and my own personal development. I was always challenging myself and pushing myself in different ways. Like I said, reading and learning, working out, being creative, learning how to manage my own time, sticking to learning how to stick to a sleep schedule, learning about, health and nutrition, how to make myself feel better throughout the day and things like that. Like one thing about me at work, as far as like my preparation, I always try to make sure like I feel good when I go to work. So as far as like getting rest, the type of foods that I eat throughout the week, all that goes into like my preparation, or it plays a part in preparing for the work week so that I can not only do a good job, but that I'm not miserable at work. Another thing too that kind of goes into my weekly preparation for work, I typically don't masturbate throughout the week. You guys know that I masturbate, I like porn, but I'm also a believer in how masturbation affects your focus, your willpower, and your energy levels. I think that in my experience, I just noticed that all of those things are better when I'm not masturbating regularly. So what I do is I don't masturbate for the most part. Every now and then, I'm only human. But during the work week, I typically don't masturbate or don't masturbate very much. That way I have that little boost that we men tend to get when we conserve ourselves sexually, when we preserve our sexual energies. So I save my masturbating for the weekend or the end of the week. And so I'm usually doing about 4 to 5 days of no fap, Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday, something like that, just so I have better energy levels throughout the week and a greater degree of, focus, better willpower, things like that. Because again, when you're trying to balance work with purpose and the demands of life in general, it's a challenge. You need every little boost that you can get. But again, it goes back to the point that I just made. I feel like all the time that I spent as a NEET, my self-improvement and pushing myself and challenging myself is really come to benefit me now that I'm working. Because everything that I've learned over the years, I found different ways to apply it. And I can't believe I forgot to talk about this, because this is like one of the best parts about having a job is my mom. Now, I told you guys that I was able to get away with being a NEET for so long because standards in the black community are just different. I was winning by just staying out of trouble. Just staying out of trouble, I was winning. Not getting locked up, not becoming a drug addict, not being disrespectful to my mom in her home for the most part, not going out here making babies and having to pay child support, having to get my mom to pay child support. Like, that's normal shit for young black men in the black community. Like, the expectation is for you to be in the negatives in terms of your life, right? And getting in trouble and fucking up. I was always at least at zero. If I wasn't doing good, I wasn't doing bad. Like, I knew how to stay the fuck out the way living with my mom. At worst, I mean, I had certain periods where we didn't get along here and there, but for the most part, I was good at staying like just out the way at zero, not in the negatives, not in the positives. And like I said, for a black man in the black community, staying above water is enough to have people stay off of your head. But now that I got this job, it's allowed me to not only do things for myself, but pay rent to my mom every week when I get paid. And of course, she appreciates that because now I'm contributing financially to the house. And, me and my mom, for the most part, we've always had at least a decent relationship. I would say overall a good relationship. Definitely certain times where things happen and we butted heads here and there, but overall a good relationship. Even when I was needing hard. But having a job and paying rent, I mean, it's like my mom just leaves me the fuck alone, like completely. Like, I don't want to say like I'm the king of the castle, but I'm more respected as being like a man of the house, basically, where she don't have much expectation for me to do more than what I'm doing. I go to work, I make the money or some money. I go to work, I make my money, I pay her what she wants, and I do what the fuck I want to do. And I'm not saying it like when I was a NEET, like she was just riding me constantly. Of course, we had the job conversation here and there. But, certain things, it's energy, it's vibration. And when I wasn't working, even though I was staying out of trouble and, doing whatever I could around the house, cleaning up, watching my niece, helping her with her homework, running errands and shit. Working and actually providing or contributing financially to the house just elevated the peace between me and my mom to a different level. And then combine that with the fact that I don't have the baggage that a lot of guys my age have, right? So it's like you'll have a guy my age, he has a job, but he got kids, or he's paying child support, or he's an alcoholic, or smoking weed every day, or a drug addict, or something, right? I don't have none of that, right? I'm staying out of trouble. I'm staying out the way. I'm working. I'm contributing financially. I have my personal life here as a content creator, musician, working out. I do, right? Like I have my life in order very much right now. And so and that's really the best thing about working is the greater degree of peace in the house, but also mentally, because to a certain extent, I always felt guilty about the fact that I wasn't contributing enough to the household. Again, even as a NEET, I did whatever I could as far as like doing chores, yard work, housework. My mom asked me to do this, I'll go do it. I was very agreeable. Whatever I could do, I felt like I had to do it because I wasn't working. So I did what I could, but nothing, right? Like nothing hits home like putting money in hand, right? Right? Like when I get paid and I count them 20s out and hand it to my mom, nothing hits like that. Like there is no contribution like the financial contribution. Like that's just on a different level. There's a greater peace between me and my mother, but there's a greater peace within my mind because I feel good about my level of contribution to the household now. I'm not just doing whatever I can. I'm doing that plus putting money in hand. But I don't see my dad much, but I appreciate him for what he said. So when I got this job, I was looking forward to telling my dad because I thought that would make him very proud that I was working, I got my car now and everything. I thought that would make him proud. When I told him, you know what he said? He kind of brushed it off. And he said, "I'm disappointed because you didn't call your cousin." Well, I forgot. She's like my cousin or aunt. Like, you know how family, you have like a great aunt with a nephew and the niece of the she wanted him. But he wanted me to call her because she wanted to hear from me, and I didn't get around to it. And you know, eventually I did end up calling her, and she was so happy to hear from me. I don't remember her much from my childhood, but she remembered me, and she just wanted to hear from me. But he was disappointed because I didn't call her like I said I would, so I went ahead and did that. But the reason why I brought that up is because it's so interesting when I look at what makes my dad proud versus what makes my mom proud. My mom is much prouder of me being responsible in terms of learning to drive, getting my license, getting a job, paying her rent, right? My dad overlooked all that. And when he told me he was proud of me, he was proud of the fact that I stayed out of trouble and appreciate the fact that I was staying out of trouble, And it kind of just goes to show why it's so important to have both dynamics of parenthood in your life. Because the father figure, while certainly, of course, I know he cares about me making money and shit like that, he appreciates character more. Having a son of character, a son that's not getting in all types of bullshit, gotta always hear about me fucking up this and fucking up that, and right, like that's what he likes. And my mom, she likes seeing me be more responsible. And I'm not saying that one is wrong and the other is right, but it's interesting to me in the middle as I look at how they look at me differently. Because I feel like my mom doesn't really appreciate the good in terms of my ability to stay out of trouble and to make wise decisions that a lot of my peers weren't able to. Whereas my dad did notice that and did appreciate that and was somewhat dismissive of me becoming more responsible financially and meeting like those milestones finally, like getting a car and shit like that. And again, I'm not saying one is wrong, but it just, to me, is an example of like why you need both, because mom and dad look at you differently. And it's interesting to me, like what makes my mom proud versus what makes my dad proud. Yeah, that's basically the main points that I wanted to touch on as far as like living the wage slave now. But this the wage slave life now. But yeah, man, I feel like so lucky that yet again I've been able to find a job that I can honestly say that I like and I have a desire to want to hold on to. I want to hold on to this job. I want to make this work for, at least a while. so I can get out of it what I need. Again, I'm not passionate about it. I don't want to do this shit for life. But for now, it works for me. And it don't take a lot to make me happy. I was happy before this shit, but I'm a simple man with simple needs. So a simple job like the one I got now, it works for me.